Howdy, my name is Roger. I love my country, my truck, and Power Platform best practices. If you're serious about becoming a Power Platform solutions architect, join the Architects Accelerator. Now enough of my fake Southern accent, and let's hear from an actual participant of the program, Anna Black.
Hi, I'm Anna Black. I'm the creator of Power Platform Cookbook. I joined the Architects Accelerator because I saw a post from Magdalena and she was so positive and inspired me to join and see what it's all about. Before joining the accelerator, I was avoiding AI. And then when I saw how to apply AI and practice like soft skills, and it just like it really opened my mind to try different things for myself with different tools and everything. It really helps you to evaluate what you know and what you don't know, because when you are doing your job for like so many years, you might be missing a trick and like a different approach. So it really helped me to look at the problems from a different angle. And it was really great to meet with people and be like a part of another community and exchange ideas and so on. So yeah, lots of benefits that did change my life. So thank you.
The link is in the show notes, or go to untethered365.com to learn more.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is Mike Gowland and I'm here with my co-partner rat in crime, Jon Russell. Say hello, Jon.
Hello, how are you? All right?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're looking very nice in your shirt there.
Oh, thank you. It's a very old shirt, but yeah, I do seem to wear it all the time. So, Jon, today we have a fantastic guest joining us. He's a powerhouse in the tech world. He is the Copilot strategy and modern workplace AI lead at Avanade, where he specialises in AI and extending Copilot functionalities. Please welcome Kevin McDonnell. You might know him from his insightful posts on LinkedIn or his thought-provoking tweets. He's also the brain behind Copilot Connection, where he shares his expertise in AI strategies with Zoe Wilson. Kevin, we're thrilled to have you on here and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Not too bad, and thank you very much for that intro. I should say that Zoe is obviously the beauty behind Copilot Connection, but also the fellow brains as well. I think she'll be hunting me down otherwise, and she's kind of scary.
Fair enough.
He is also the co-brain behind Copilot Connection, where he shares his expertise on AI strategies with the other co-brain, Zoe Wilson.
And she has a whole cat army that would attack me. So, I have
we
to
don't want to mess with the cats.
Interesting. Yeah. How many cats has she got?
She has 6, I think.
Oh, right. Wow.
Well, they're very large cats. I've just been on a call with her where they were sat there washing in the background. So it's always entertaining.
Wow. Lovely.
Well, I think we need to get her on the podcast and talk about her large cats.
No, it's Kevin's turn.
Definitely. Right. Yeah, enough. We always
Kevin,
hear about Zoe.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into AI and Copilot and that space?
Yeah, so I guess going way back, came out of university, was looking at jobs to do and kind of seeing, actually while I was at university, looking at grad schemes and things like that. And at the time I was a broke student, so looking at banking jobs was the nice way to go, mostly because when you went and go and spoke to them, they gave you loads of free drinks and then convinced me into that world. So did a few internships at a big investment bank, and as part of that, discovered the world of SharePoint. And I always loved dabbling with development, always played around, kind of very much bedroom dev, trying out these things, started off in the Acorn Electron.
Nice.
But I also love the fact that people can do things themselves. And SharePoint, I didn't have to sit and go through requirements. You could kind of talk a bit about people and empower them to be able to do that. And that got me hooked onto that kind of modern workplace world. And then sort of went through various other financial services, eventually decided to take the hop over to the consulting world. But I've always been fascinated about making it easier for people to do things on there. So that kind of took me a bit into the Power Platform. I've always, one of my GitHub taglines is Jack of all trades, master of none. I love seeing about all these different things and different capabilities, but also realized I needed to focus a little bit. So started focusing down towards that employee experience side with Viva, but was, again, always kept in contact that it's about that employee experience. How can you make it easier for people to do things? And so when it was really around that OpenAI time. I started playing around with what OpenAI could do, especially the APIs, and at the time was doing a lot around Viva Insights. So I wanted to kind of build up a kind of mock environment, which I semi did. I've found ways to kind of simulate meetings taking place and would still have the idea of taking that further. But I was just like, wow, this AI is incredible. If you could embed this into what people are doing day to day, which is for many people living in that world of Teams, ignoring all those Slack users out there for the time being, that would be amazing. And so when Copilot was announced, I'd already been thinking about how could we integrate this, and it was just a natural place to focus that. And I just love the way that Copilot can bring that natural language capabilities, but also how it can help behind the scenes. So you mentioned the intro extensibility. That to me is the really interesting part, is how can we connect in with other systems? How can we make things easier behind the scenes and automate some of that stuff? So kind of having gone through the consulting, what's the lovely company called CPS, through my community engagements, got this role at Avanade, started off as solutions architect, but just generally by chatting shit and being passionate about things, kind of evolved more and more opportunities, and that came into this one of looking at Copilot strategy, really.
Nice. So AI, ChatGPT now, that was first launched, I think it was about 18 months ago, wasn't it? It's just rapidly evolved, and it's amazing to see how far we've come in those 18 months, where we're now seeing video being generated that's actually quite convincing.
Yeah.
And you talk about extensibility as well. And I saw a great demonstration by Tom Morgan last night at the South Coast User Group about using Azure Communication Services with a large language model and how they can interact with each other. And it's just incredible. But what do you see as the next big thing in AI?
Well, for me, it's that extending. But what I kind of hope the next big thing, that you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
That it just there and naturally makes life easier. I often get asked the question, what's your favorite Copilot? One of my roles is to look at all the different Copilots and kind of talk about what to use when and things on there. But my favorite's GitHub Copilot, because you just don't notice it's there. And I always tell the story of when my license ran out. I'm lucky enough to get one as part of being an MVP, but I think I hadn't clicked on the renewal button and it suddenly stopped. And just my code quality, my code speed went boom. And I suddenly realized that I didn't actively kind of click and use it. It was just there. It just kind of seemed to preempt what I did. So what do I think the next big thing is? That appearing more and more places. We see it in Copilot M365, where you have that in words now. You have the little icon that appears and it kind of suggests things to you on there. I think, obviously your core base of looking at Power Platform, that ability to kind of say, what function do I need? What do I need to write? As someone who plays around with C#, TypeScript, Power Platform, occasional bit of Python, but I try and avoid it where I can, just because my brain pops. But having those things and having all those slightly different syntaxes in my head is just horrible. It's just a pain in the backside, and it slows me down. So that's where GitHub Copilot comes in, because it nudges me on the right thing to do, bringing that into Power Platform, where I shouldn't have to care about the exact syntax for doing a coalesce or a patch statement. And I can never remember that word patch. It really drives me mad. I always it's that thing to push it up to there. So having Copilot kind of anticipate that, give me that nudge towards it. That's what I think were the big next step.
That is cool, isn't it? The only reason that I remember that I have GitHub Copilot is when my card gets declined because I haven't got enough money to pay for it each month.
So what the bit that I struggle at the moment with AI, and I've talked about this with Mike, is that I feel like, how do I get past the fact that I feel like I'm cheating?
I mean, you could say the same thing about Power Apps, in the days where you had to go out and build these massive applications on there, and you have whole teams of designers and things. Now you go drag, boom, there's 80% of what I need very quickly, and then you can focus on the bit that brings value. And I think that to me is where AI comes into it as well. And that is why I love the phrase Copilot. It's there supporting you, making you more effective, but being more about you on there. I think it is also a transition as you get a bit older and you move on from kind of creating things to reviewing what other people do and kind of looking at other things. It's the same with Copilot. You're not necessarily creating stuff, you're guiding it a little bit and looking at those results and making sure those results are real as well. So you're only is a nice cheesy catchphrase. You're only cheating if you're cheating yourself within there. That it's about looking at that and being honest with what you do.
Yeah.
The one caveat I would say to that if I'm honest, still scares me slightly is this whole world of agentification. So building out agents that work on things while you're not there, that happen behind the scenes on that. I had a lovely demo. I'm part of the Experts Live UK user group and conferences that we're setting up. We had Steve Goodman gave a session on using AutoGen. It's a lovely framework, mostly Python. There is now a .NET version, but there's also an AutoGen Studio you can install. You can sort of do more drag and drop things. And he built up a set of agents. We slightly mistakenly put it on the same night as the England match. So he thought, all right, I'll bring some football theme to this. And he built out a set of agents that was like a forward, a midfielder, a defender, and he gave them different personalities. He said, right, you're the right back, you want to go clattering in and tackle people. You're the striker, you're aiming to get goals. You're the midfielder, you pass it around. And then he got actually Copilot to kind of help him build out a front end for that. It was a bit like Sensi soccer style, and then ran that. And it was a decent attempt for what was a very quick way of doing things, of simulating a football match. And it's like, so hang on, if we took Ronaldo out the picture and we just had this simulating things, why do we need humans in this? Now, I don't believe that. I think we will find ways to always make use of this and not be fully replaced in the same way the Industrial Revolution did. So I'm not a naysayer. I think we need to be cautious of it. We need to me, it's almost a philosophical question. What do we bring to this? What do we bring to the story? What is the magic spark? And I'm sitting here staring at Mike's shirt and thinking AI would not come up with some beauty like that, and make the choice to wear it and things. It's not just regurgitating things that happened. We add new innovation to it as well.
It's just to say it's a Sainsbury's shirt as well. So
nice.
Okay, maybe it was AI generated, but
do you think? So one of the big areas that I think agents are going to help, and I think it's definitely, if not already, but I think with the advent of the increased capabilities of things like Unreal Engine and stuff like that, I think real world simulation is probably going to be something huge where we're going to be able to start to predict, things that could happen and might happen. Maybe looking at like kind of city planning, that kind of thing. I think there's a whole area there.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So go back to it actually, because I've got a slightly different take on that. Where you feel that if you're using GitHub Copilot, you feel like you're cheating.
Yeah.
If you didn't have GitHub Copilot, how would you code?
Copy and paste.
Honestly, how would you do it? Would you go to Google?
Would
you search how to do something in Python, and would you then look at Stack Overflow, and then would you be made to feel upset because people are attacking you, and then you get to the right answer right at the bottom?
Yes.
So GitHub Copilot takes out that emotional angst of having to go on Stack Overflow.
Fair enough.
Maybe we are losing something there. Maybe we need to build some personality into GitHub Copilot that mocks you halfway through.
System props you on GitHub Copilot, but you're also a bit of an asshole.
Like a DLC add-on.
Yeah, exactly.
A personality add-on. Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I can't
I
believe
think
you forgot
the
the
Stack Overflow
semicolon
community
again.
has got better since the dark days, by the way. So I just want to make that clear before I get shot down.
So, Kevin, what advice would you give to companies that are kind of going down this integration path with AI into their overall strategy? Because I mean, it's more than integration now, right? As a few people have said, it's going to happen to you whether you like it or not, right? So you need to, as companies, I think you need to get ahead, especially around like data classification and other strategies. But is there anything there that stand out for you that you come across and think, right, okay, this is major. This is something that we need to really look into.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is have a strategy around what you're doing with AI. Don't just fall into it. I know for those who've been around the industry for years, we've had that talk about shadow IT as things have moved up to the cloud and people using all these things that shouldn't be used. Have a strategy, define how you want people to use it. Don't be like Samsung was with ChatGPT, all the engineers were using it and then that fed back into the training and they release sensitive material. If you build into this, understand how you want to use it, and what you're going to use when and that area, then people are going to understand why. It's the age-old thing of if you explain to people, engage with them, people will tell you what they want and they'll use the right thing on there. And I would say with that, using the right things. So make sure that responsible AI is a key foundation. Decide. I was having a fascinating conversation with a client. We were talking about a chatbot and talking about escalating to an agent. And I said, does it matter if you know whether you're speaking to a bot or to a human? And they were vehemently, yes, it does. We need to be very clear on that. We need to help people trust. And I kind of agreed, though. I was kind of challenging and felt like I was saying, no, we don't need to know any humans. I was like, no, I agree with that. But it's those kind of principles that you have. They had very clear AI principles that had there that were looking at, be very clear when you are speaking to AI, be very clear and explicitly say that some of the results you get back may not be true. All the joys about hallucination. So building that understanding of what you should do, making sure where you don't want to use it, is it with personal information, discussing things like analyzing CVs? Is it unfair to do that? I'm not going to say one way or the other, but make sure you have a very clear policy around where it should be used, where it shouldn't be used, and define on that.
Yeah.
What do you think the differences are between employing AI into your workplace and just hiring someone? If we're going down the responsible AI route and making sure it's grounded, and what data is it doing and what function is it going to do? What are the key differences between the tech
I think
and
it's
bringing someone in?
It's trust at the moment, that naturally humans will have trust more in other humans, whether that's grounded in reality or not. I wouldn't say doesn't matter, but needs to have that. You can have that conversation, but with AI, it's almost that black box. You don't know how it's making decisions. I'm laughing as I'm saying that because you could say exactly the same about humans. But it's having that trust within there that's the place. And as we're moving towards this more AI embedded world, people will fall back to humans. Kind of almost incorrectly within there if you're not building out that trust and setting there. So I think there is a lot of similarity between those things, but I think it's the difference is that you will have a lot more that comes back from AI that sounds very, very believable. And it may be a core bit that's wrong in there that's hidden between lots of waffle. Now, as someone who speaks on podcasts with your good selves today and at other times, I know that it's very easy to hide incorrect things with lots of good sounding waffle. We're going through a general election in here. I often like to talk about generative AI being like a politician. Lots of really good sounding things with no basis on reality. So I think being able to know how you judge it within that is important on there. But I think also would say that it's right, you need to kind of judge humans by that same token as well. I guess with humans, especially where they are humans and you know them, where it's people you work with, you can start to understand where their foibles are, where their different ways they work, and you can learn from that. When it comes to AI, because it can go down different angles, that's not always the case. So you've got to kind of judge it a bit more harshly based on that.
And humans also have more accountability for their mistakes as well, right?
Should do, yes.
Yeah.
And having worked with large enterprises, sometimes.
Okay, so if I was terrible at my job, but I had like wife and kid to feed at home, then I've got more accountability, like to be a better performing employee and be good at my job, right? But AI can make mistakes.
Yeah, but I think again.
Right?
Coming back to politicians, we have certainly had some politicians in the UK who are very good at speaking, and people love that personality, and they can get away with the mistakes for a lot longer than others could. You could say the same with generative AI, where it has that confidence. So yes, I agree around that accountability, But it's not as simple as if you do a bad job, you're going to get fired. Because if you're very confident and can find the right people to blame, there's ways around that as well.
Interesting.
And so that's why I think it is good that we judge generative AI more like humans, yes. But I think we should isolate and consider those things differently at the moment.
I've always liked the phrase that generative AI can be confidently wrong.
Yeah, completely.
And whenever I say that to myself, it reminds me that I have to check everything that it generates. And you can't just assume that it's got it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to other things for the strategy, the other one I'd like to talk about 4 areas of thinking about with this strategy. One is enabling. So get a service. For me, that's the Copilot that you can enable. You can turn on Copilot from Microsoft 365. You can go for the free options with the Copilot in Edge and in Bing within there. So look at those ones that you can just turn on and include that adoption and change and helping people through it, but enable that. Then look at extending, especially with those where you can extend out beyond that Microsoft bubble, connecting in your different systems, but also scaling into specific things. So you can extend Copilot, say, if people ask about policies, we mean these policies, not the ones you're writing for clients, for example. So you can kind of target it correctly within that. Look about that automation. It's interesting when I first started talking about that, to me, it was very much about how could I use Azure OpenAI within Power Automate to help me summarize things and help me get to decisions faster within that. I think now we're talking also about agents and the world there about having things happen in the background, and then make that decision where you really want to invest and build something very bespoke for your organization or for your specific scenario that is custom there. We've got that ability to not only with generative AI, but you can retrain models. You can add your training data on existing models to build something that works for exactly that situation. So look at those. Not everything has to go through that single layer of Copilot.
Yeah, and don't just chuck a chatbot out onto your courier's website and just hope for the best.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Kevin,
I'm intrigued. Is there a story behind that, or is that not something you can talk about?
That DPD story. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
When it kind of like, I can't remember exactly. It was basically telling itself that it was awful. I think. I can't remember exactly the story, but
it was stipulated that DPD was probably the worst courier company, and it was telling customers to fuck off and
yes,
and
they had to turn it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Kevin, we know you're a tech enthusiast, but what do you like to do when you're not working on AI or Copilot? Have you got any hobbies or interests outside of tech? I'm just going to scan your background now and just see what I can see. So I can see a tiny electric guitar. Do you like to play tiny electric guitars?
I used to play guitar. I've got to a much better place where my son now plays guitar, is better than me, so I live through his abilities on that one. So I love listening to music. Going to the Latitude Festival soon, so love the details on that. Probably the biggest thing I do, and I'm looking at, I've got it open now because I've got a plan for tonight, is I'm a Cub Scout leader. So I love that. Kind of teaching kids things in a more interesting way than they get at school, giving them the opportunity to do things they wouldn't usually get to do. Even things like going on a night hike and playing games in the pitch black and going hiding in the forest, things I loved doing as a kid. And more now, it's harder to just go out and do that as we kind of become more protective. So we I should say this very publicly, we risk assess each of these things and make sure they are delivered safely, but give the kids the opportunity to do something a little bit different. Tonight we're doing I'm a Cub, Get Me Out of Here. So I've got some dried mealworms and crickets and things for them to eat. We got some slime I'm going to make up and they're going to fill through, and just then we're going to cook some hot dogs over the fire and eat some marshmallows. So we do a lot of the traditional things.
Are you putting the mealworms into the hot dogs?
Protein.
I wasn't until you said that. Now I might
sprinkle them like onions.
Yes.
I've actually eaten insects before. So when I went to Thailand, there was a tuk-tuk that pulled up outside this restaurant we were in, and it was basically just a bloke who was pan frying bugs in soy sauce, and you could just buy a little pot. I thought, you know what?
I've eaten a scorpion.
Yeah.
Scorpion crisps. They're quite nice.
Yeah, they're not. Once you get over it, they're not too bad. Some of them are a bit, yeah. But yeah, the scorpion I struggle with. I did try it, but yeah, that was.
Well, they talk.
A sting.
There's been talk about how insects are actually going to be our main source of protein in the near future because they're more economical to farm.
Yeah.
This took a really weird turn, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so
Kevin, we know you're a tech enthusiast, but we already asked that question. Go on, John.
Yeah. So uncomfortable corner time. Hold on, look, he's not even ready. So,
I'm ready now.
I'd say one of the things I love about Cubs is it to me, it's a bit like being as part of the tech community. You know, it's giving time back, and it's I'm not paid for it at all. I love that giving back nature to it, but also teaching them a bit about tech. So we've talked before. I've got all of them have done a GitHub check-in. They created accounts. They kind of made a different sprite from make.code, arcade.makecode.com on there, and built up a different game on there. So I love bringing a bit of the day job into them, and I make them watch PowerPoint presentations every now and then just for shits.
Brilliant.
PowerPoint at Cubs. Wow, time really has changed since I was a Cub Scout.
Yeah, I used to have an overhead projector. So, as you may know, Kevin, we are now coming to our section called Uncomfortable Corner.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable Corner.
Which is what the Cub Scouts will make when they start eating.
So, Kevin, when was the last time you felt uncomfortable? And that could be in or outside of work. And if you could maybe explain how you felt and how you got through it and what you learned from it, that would help you the next time.
I'm going to make a silly comment before I get onto something serious that I've never spoken publicly before. I'm so glad I listened to the Scott Roller episodes that you published recently, so I was ready for that scream this time.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So yeah, what makes me uncomfortable? I'm a father with 3 kids, and all my kids are on the autism spectrum to some degree, to more or less. So I think what two real things that make me uncomfortable is kind of learning how to work with that, how to help them, how to empower them as much as possible, which I find a challenge, but also how to fight the systems that put so many blockers in their way at the moment with schools, the local council, the challenges of getting that mental health support, the challenges with just making sure that all of them can have the same opportunities that everyone else have. Going back a little bit to Cubs, we don't not let anyone in. I've got bad English with that, but we always make sure
we get
it doesn't
inclusive.
That we always have people inclusive within there. And if it's a bit harder for us, we'll work a bit harder for them. And some of the schools, there's some amazing people there, but just the general system to get the fact that we have to go to court to get the support that legally is allowed is just insane. At the moment. And
is that a money problem, or is it more deep rooted than that? Do you think?
I think it's a bit of both. I think certainly the money doesn't help. There isn't enough money in there to support people, so they're kind of fighting back that. I think there's an understanding problem. I think there's an education. I think it's improved even in the last sort of 5 years of there. But I know with one of my sons, we get him back in tears because he's told he's not working hard enough when he's struggling because he can't focus on things like that. And we have the evidence with the school that we're talking about, and they, just the teachers aren't being brought up to speed. And again, it's a money problem. There's not enough teachers. There's not enough support for them. But it just feels horrific. And I think having gone through the pandemic, I'm still, I'm not going to go into pseudoscience, but, it feels like we're probably getting a lot more exposure to things like autism and neurodiversity and understanding of that. And people are trying to address that, but there still needs to be so much more. So, and it makes me uncomfortable. Trying to get my kid off the iPad, trying to get him into my youngest, especially trying to get him into school every day is a fight every single morning. what makes me most uncomfortable? God, I love going to conferences just for that little bit of a break, that little bit of kind of normality, and just being able to be me and not just a father, not just a parent for a while. So it's dealing with all that and the honesty of kind of coming away from that, going, oh, I feel free for a bit. Oh, I'm going back to it. On there.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle. I'm lucky. Well, I'm not lucky. I don't mean it like that. But, my two kids are not neurodivergent. I am. But, I struggle with that as well. When I go away it's just a kind of pretty easy setup here compared to others. So, yeah, I fully understand what you're saying there. Thank you for sharing it with us as well.
And I love what you said there, because I know other people. I know Pete Rising's talked about his challenges with his kids. There's always going to be people in a better situation. There's always going to be people in worse, and it's kind of being honest to yourself about what you have with yours, and it's still okay to find it hard.
I mean, that's the thing. It's okay. It's your situation, right? It's how you are dealing with it, how you are with that situation, and comparing to others.
It's not helpful.
It's not really helpful, is it? Everyone's situation is very unique.
I know, my kids will laugh because one of the most used phrases is, I don't want to hear excuses, I want to hear results. And I'm very much, this is a challenge that you have. You need to look at ways that can help you be the best you can be with that and find ways around it. This isn't I struggled for a long time about getting them assessed and getting always that badge, because it feels like, I can do what I want. I've got this badge. That it's easy to fall into that trap as well. And I don't think it is about that. It's about understanding what it is that can help you as well. And why I love a lot of the Microsoft tech that it puts in place, those things that can help you, whether you have that badge of being, formerly neurodiverse, or whether you're just struggle with some of these things. And I think it's trying to get people to that point of just not looking for labels, looking for things that can help people from there.
Yeah, the label can't be an excuse. Yeah,
agreed.
But definitely something that makes me feel uncomfortable, and I kind of intentionally haven't spoken about it much at conferences. I love people who can get up and speak there, but it's it's one of those things that makes me who I am, not which defines me as well.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing that with us and with all the listeners as well.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think that's all we've got time for this week. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on to the show. You can find Kevin on LinkedIn, Twitter, or is it called X now? I'm not sure. And on the Copilot Connection podcast. Links to resources mentioned in this episode will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by Ken Likefit. You can find his music on Spotify, the link to which you can find in this episode's show notes. Any additional music used in this episode is credited there as well. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. We would also really appreciate it if you gave us a follow on LinkedIn. And if you're really enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you. This has been Sprint Zero. We've been Jon Russell. Say goodbye, Jon.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Kevin McDonnell. Say goodbye, Sandra. Apparently on the show notes.
Goodbye, Sandra.
And I'm Mike, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you both.
Don't change it now, Jon. It's too late.
Brilliant.
What a finish.
The copy and paste failed.
It really did.
With finishing like that, you two could play for England.
I don't even get the joke. I've not even watched any. I found out like 2 nights ago that the Euros had started.
Brilliant.
I don't know what's
That's how little I care about football.
There we go. And ending on that note, love you, Mike.
Love you, Jon. Love you, Kevin.
Love you all.
There we go. We got it.
All right.
Bye.
See you later.
I'm Sean. I run the Architects Accelerator. It's an 8-week training program to help you become a solutions architect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how awesome it is. We're just going to hear from previous participants.
My name's Mike Colling.
My name is Sander.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Hi, I'm Luke.
Hi, I'm Callum. I work as a senior functional consultant.
I signed up for this because it sounded something I hadn't seen anywhere else.
And that's what I liked about this course, is that we were focusing about taking the right requirement and proposing to the customer the right solution.
It's showing how to use the whole platform and how to build better solutions that could last a long time.
I don't have a background in software, and given that it's changing so fast every single day, I needed a guided way of learning. If the solution architect is the direction I want to go, I have taken something from every day of those classes and have applied them to my work.
Found it really useful and really enjoyed it.
Use promo code SPRINT0 to get $50 off.